All right, guys, I finally am in a place where I can put this video together. So, Project Raptor, little background on this. 2010 Ford F150 Super Cab, one of the first 100 Raptors ever built. I got a lot of neat history with this. It's been a barn find. It's been sitting for about 5 years now. Because of this, you can imagine there's a lot of things that needed fixed, which I've addressed like 95% of this. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you guys through some of the stuff I've had to do. So if you guys are looking to restore or fix an older generation Raptor, some of the things you can do, this is gonna be broken out into a long period of time because this is just the first step. The first step is get it mechanically decent. Second step is modify strategy, wheels, tires, suspension, motor, upgrades. But right now, what we've been focusing on is full blown, let's just get it on the road and get it decent, and that's where we're at. So I'm gonna break this down into a lot of small videos for you guys so you can kind of see if you got a problem with a Ford F-150 Raptor, just little things you can kind of tackle, because otherwise this would be a 2-hour long video and I don't wanna do that. So let's dive into this. This is it, guys, in a current state. Next steps in the process are gonna be wheels and tires and suspension. We're looking at a few different paths on both of those. What I'd like to do, but I'm not sure it's gonna play out that way because of a few reasons. I'm trying to do this on a budget for the purpose of the whole nature of this. This is someone that wants a Gen 1 Raptor but doesn't want to spend a ton of money, but wants to get this thing good and operational and ready to roll. How can you do things on a budget plus keeping the legacy of what this is? As an example, even though the BFG KO2, it's an okay tire, it's not the best, it's not the worst, I'm considering trying to get an all-terrain tire like that to try to have the nature of a Baja-inspired vehicle, not a mud terrain. But I'm not entirely sure. These wheels, these rims have some corrosion on them. If they didn't have some corrosion, I'd 100% just put new tires on this. But I'm trying to fix this thing up, and I'm trying to figure out, and actually I'll be curious if you guys got some recommendations of what is the easiest, most budget-friendly, with that in the purpose of mind, of options to refinish these wheels. The part in the middle is actually in great shape. It's just all the machine surface along these edges. If I could refinish that within reason, I would just run these rims, because I actually like the look of these rims, and the fact that these were only on the 2010 and 2011s, I kind of want to keep the nature of that as well. So that's one of the other things. Suspension, looking at a few different paths as well. Part of me is thinking, do I keep the Gen 1 suspension? The problem with the Gen 1 suspension is this. Check out the rust. This is very common. The shock body on these shocks from the Gen 1 were just, in all fairness, not a great material. They rusted really easily. So the front and rear have a ton of corrosion, and I'm contemplating just completely replacing these. Looking at Gen 2 suspension, I already got a setup from a prior project that we can put on there, but there's some fabrication that has to go into that. It might be kind of cool to put a Gen 2 style suspension on that. That's for another project. But let's first dive into what we've had to do with this truck. When we got it, major wire harness issues. We're gonna dive into what was wrong with the truck and what we had to do to fix the truck. Secondly, tons of lights on the dash. We had check engine lights issues. We had ABS sensor issues, obviously 4-wheel drive, hill descent control, all kinds of problems. We had to put a new sensor right here. This had to get a new ABS sensor right here. Luckily, it wasn't a hard repair. I have a video I'm also gonna break down into replacing an ABS sensor on the front of an F-150. That wasn't that bad. 4-wheel drive issues. Went through the full diagnostic on this thing and found it was a transfer case actuator, which is not super common on these trucks. What's more common is the IWE or vacuum line failures. Thankfully, this was working okay. Then, what do? Coolant flushes. We went through a full coolant flush strategy, show you how to go about doing that. Got a whole video on that. Also, power steering fluid flush. I did it, what the average man mechanic would do. I did that style of flush, and I've got a video on that as well. Spark plugs. These are the original spark plugs from 163,000 miles. I show about how easy it is to do and some things to consider when doing it, and also why I went with the spark plug I did go with. Other things, simple things like this. What's common on these generation trucks? These super cab doors not opening. This door didn't open when I got it. Boom, fixed it. Didn't even cost me any dollars or any parts. That was an easy fix. Another easy fix, these switches go bad on these F-150 Raptors. This one only partially worked. Now it fully works. I was able to fix this with a switch. I got a full portion of a video on how to do that. Another thing that's common on these Raptors, these stripes on the steering wheel is going bad. I replaced this. There's a really cool company. I'll put a link down below and I'll show you how to go about doing this. But there's a cool company. It's like kind of like a veteran company is my understanding. It's not even expensive, but fix that. That's another easy thing. Another thing I'll talk about real briefly is since some mice got into some different parts of this, created a nest in the HVAC area, I'm gonna show you on this generation truck how you can go and replace or fix, sorry, the HVAC blower motor top and clean that out. I did that, and I'm also gonna include a link in that of a bore scope that I purchased, which is really cheap on Amazon, and helped me identify if I actually had a problem, which I fixed as well. Another thing, parking brake issues. This parking brake is brand new. I had to just replace this. It was snapped off. This is brand new. I talk about some steps on how to replace this and what's the easiest way to do it. And if there's a problem, I also went with the OEM version of this because it lasted, I figure, 15 years. Might as well replace it with a similar type of product. Lastly, these lights. All of these marker lights were bad. I went with an Amazon version. I'm gonna try them out. I think they look pretty decent and they're not terribly expensive, but all 5 of the front ones are an aftermarket version and I like this kind of smoked look. But I'll talk about this as well in a video. Today's whole purpose of this video is to show you where the project is currently at, where the next steps are at, and what we're gonna do in the future with this truck. So here's my ask for you guys. What would you guys think would be pretty cool in this? Now, keep in mind, I'm trying to keep the nostalgia of the first generation Raptor in mind with this. So I'm not really wanting to go too wild. Also, to be fair, part of me have thought about just making this thing an absolute off-road animal. Modify the crap out of it. Frame cut front bumper, rear bumper, 37s, cut the fenders, this, and this. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not sure I got the heart to cut on a truck like this that I think one day is gonna be super desirable, being the first generation Raptor, especially being SVT. I kinda wanna keep it a little wholesome and to the heart. What that would be, what I'd like to do with a really crazy modified truck, I'm targeting a Gen 2 Raptor in the future. I think I'd like to get a Gen 2 and just go wild with it. 5-link suspension in the rear, 39s, 5.0 Coyote Whipple supercharged, something crazy, because I've talked about this in the past. The Gen 2 is a great truck, but it's also gonna be the truck of all the generation Raptors that I think will take the biggest resale hit, but also the cool thing about this, it provides the best opportunity of a really solid truck and frame and suspension and axles to modify. It's not the most desirable Raptor, but it's a great platform. So I kind of want to save crazy modifications for a Gen 2 build. Right now, Gen 1. So I'll be curious. Leave your comments down below. What wheels, what tires, what other modifications, what suspension do you guys think I should do in this? Hey, I hope you guys enjoy this project. This is something a little different than what I've done on the channel before, but really the whole purpose of this is people that are on a truck budget that are not really wanting to spend this kind of money, totally get it. Who wants to go and spend 50 or 60, 80, $100,000 in a truck, but would like to have a pretty cool truck that's unique and fairly reliable? I want to show you what you can do with one of these trucks. That's the whole purpose of this thing. If you guys like this, let me know, because I'm really trying to base my feedback on what I do if this is content for you guys that you enjoy. Hey, thanks for watching.